Rutgers defeating Akron on Saturday afternoon at SHI Stadium 49-17 to move to 2-0 on the season. This is my sort of rapid reaction. I'm a couple hours late here. Had a family birthday thing on Saturday, so a little bit late, but wanted to give my full thoughts on the win. A little bit of a slow start for Rutgers, for sure, especially Athan Kaliakmanis at quarterback. It was 7-3 in the second quarter. Akron had an opportunity and had missed a field goal. It could have been Rutgers could have been trailing at that point in the second quarter. So I understand some frustration there. Obviously, it took a little bit to get going. Defense gave up some big plays in this game. There were some frustrating penalties at times, more towards the second half. But overall, Rutgers took care of business, and I understand that. Listen, I think people should not expect Rutgers to have an uneven performance here in week 2. You still have a ton of players out, 17 players on the availability list, down from 22 in week 1. You were missing Wesley Bailey once again on defense. You were missing Sam Brown on offense behind Kyle Monangai. You had Tyreen Powell out. Again, although he was questionable on the availability report, Flip Dixon was out against. You still have some younger players working in. The wide receiving core is still getting acclimated as a group. So there's a lot of things that Rutgers still has to work out. Special teams. This team, there's a lot of returning pieces. There's a lot to like, but it's not a perfect team. And I think maybe expectations are just expecting Rutgers to come out and be ahead of Akron 28-0 in the middle of the second quarter. Just doesn't work that way. And you can see across the Big Ten today, Wisconsin, as I record this, struggling with South Dakota at home, up 1 score in the fourth quarter. Penn State was trailing Bowling Green at the half. They won by a score. Bowling Green's a better MAC team than Akron, no doubt. But the bottom line is Rutgers showed some things in this game. They pulled away in the second half. Kaliakmanis really got into a rhythm. And they were able to establish things. He started 5 of 12 in the pass game with an interception. He had a couple bad throws that were dangerous throws into traffic. He was a lot of first read passes, not really going through his progressions very well. So that was concerning, no doubt. But then the second half, he looked a lot better. He finished 9 of 11 on 178 yards, 3 touchdown passes. He had that beauty deep ball to Chris Long. That was, it's funny how fans are celebrating. I mean, it's been so long since we've seen that type of action in a Rutgers offense. But Kaliakmanis showed he could throw the deep ball today. He missed at times too, but he was 3 of 7 from deep. He was better in terms of connecting in the second half. They had several. I'm going to look it up right now. Again, this is a rapid reaction. This is how we do it. Might not be completely smooth here. But going through the essentials here in terms of short passing, he was 3 of 4. That's less than 5 yards. He was 8 of 12 on medium passing, 5 to 14 yards, and he was 3 of 7 on deep passing, 15 plus yards. In terms of that short to intermediate passing, he was 11 of 16. Last week, he was 15 of 20, 11 of 16, right around 70%. The week before, 75%. So that is certainly an encouraging sign for this offense. And then when you throw in the combination of the deep ball, being able to stretch the field in terms of the receiving, you saw Chris Long really establish himself. I did a podcast on Friday talking about playmakers, Rutgers needing to count on reliable playmakers. Chris Long really showed up after kind of a quiet, they were trying to get him involved in week 1. He had a much more productive day today, and he was able to lead Rutgers with 87 yards on 4 catches. Obviously, that 58-yard touchdown was the highlight. You also had Demir Miller have another good game, 4 catches, 77 yards. He had a 31-yard catch. You had Ian Strong, just 1 catch, but it was 16 yards. Corey Duff had that deflection touchdown catch, 23. That was a 6-yarder. He had a 23-yarder later in the game. Talking about that deflection, that's when I think things started to change for Kaliakmanis. Yeah, he got lucky off the bounce off the backboard, so to speak. And Duff showed great awareness, great hands in making that catch in the end zone. But I think for whatever reason, it just kind of loosened Kaliakmanis up. And that's when he started to cook once he got into that second half after halftime, shortly after that touchdown pass. So that was something that really, I thought, for him, kind of changed things and turned things around. And you saw that when he can deliver the ball, he has the ability to deliver the ball, to find receivers, to make throws that Rutgers hasn't been able to in a long time, or at least a couple years. And that's speaking directly to Gavin Wimsatt. So Kaliakmanis is absolutely an upgrade. I don't know if people thought he was going to be like this top Big Ten quarterback. He's not. He's going to be around 60%. What he saw in the second half, I mean, he finished 14 to 23, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 61% completion rate, 179.2 quarterback rating. If they can get that every week, you take it. And he's going to look bad on certain throws. He's going to look bad on certain drives. He's not a perfect quarterback. This is not a perfect team. But I was encouraged, especially also the fact that Shiraka and Shiano opened up the playbook a little bit in that second half. I thought that was encouraging. I honestly thought that the play calling would be a little bit more vanilla than it was. Monangai, I mean, where would Rutgers be without Kyle Monangai? Absolute beast. Career high, 208 rushing yards, 27 attempts, 7.7 yards per carry. Had a 62-yard dash, 3 touchdowns. Just looking back at last year and where Rutgers is right now, Kyle Monangai it's unbelievable. I mean, it's scary to think what Rutgers would be without him. He is so important. And going into last season, nobody thought he would be what he is now. So he's now close to 400 yards rushing on the season. Obviously, that game in 2 weeks at Virginia Tech, his ability to control the game on the ground is going to be everything for Rutgers. And if he can have dominating performances in Big Ten play and against Virginia Tech that we saw him at times have last year, but have even more so this year, this is going to be a 8, 9, 10 win team if other things can come about. So overall, offensively, I was pretty encouraged. Also, Kenny Fletcher caught a touchdown, second straight game, just 1 catch, but had the touchdown. Ben Black had his first catch of his career. So I thought the offensive line, again, I thought did a pretty good job. I just want to check. I think Akron had a couple sacks. Let me check the defense here. In terms of Akron, they had 0 sacks. They had 4 pass breakups. They had 3 QB hits, and don't have the hurries here. But overall, they did a pretty good job. I mean, obviously the run game, but then also in terms of giving Kaliakmanis time to throw in that second half, they did a really good job. So again, no sacks. That's really positive. And keeping those guys on the field, just in terms of this offensive line, the continuity that they're building now, super encouraging. In terms of the defense, gave up some big plays. In terms of, look at the advanced stats. In terms of big plays allowed, Akron had 8, totaling 203 total yards. Rutgers had 12, 321 yards. But overall, they gave up a couple drives, couple touchdowns that I saw some complaining on. Again, this isn't a perfect defense. You're missing some key guys. When you don't have Powell, Dixon, Teray, Bailey, I mean, those are 4 primo guys. I thought Aaron Lewis played well today. What was his actually stat line? He had a big pressure at one point. I don't see it. Oh, there he is. Yeah, he had 2 quarterback hits, a pass breakup. He had a key play. I forget which play it was, but he got to the quarterback pretty impressively. You had overall 6 pass breakups from this defense, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Just want to give Malcolm Ray his due. When Akron had that momentum after the interception and they were going into the red zone, Malcolm Ray had the play. I don't know if it's the play of the game. It was the play of the first half. It changed the game in terms of they handed off to Bullock, which was a read option, and he buried him. And he just read it perfectly. And physically, he was a beast. Huge sack there, huge play in the game for Malcolm Ray, who I think 2 weeks in a row now has looked like a pretty good player. He had another 3-tackle game. And just in terms of his anticipation on that play, it blew up the offense and it changed the game because Akron had to settle for a field goal, which they ultimately missed. Rutgers was able to catch their breath, ultimately take the lead and never trail in this game. So that was huge. You also had a really impressive sack from Eric Rogers in terms of his ability, playmaking ability. We saw the pick 6 in week 1. We saw the sack in week 2. You had over a dozen guys with multiple tackles in this game. Longerbeam had a couple pass breakups. You had Jordan Thompson had a couple really good plays in this game. He had 3 tackles, but he had 2 quarterback hits. He also had a pass breakup, tackle for loss. So I talked about playmakers on Friday, and this defense showed multiple guys that were stepping up in key spots. And I know Adam Brenneman mentioned that at one point in the telecast, talking about guys needing to make plays when Rutgers defense needed it most. And you saw some of that today, and different guys that were stepping up. Overall linebackers, I thought were okay. Akron was able to get some big plays off, but overall, this was a bigger test for this defense. They got experience that they needed. By the way, Northern Illinois, another MAC team, beat Notre Dame in South Bend just now. So that's crazy. Listen, 49-17. Rutgers has put up over 40 points 2 weeks in a row. They're 2-0. They go into the bye week. They get ready for Virginia Tech now. And this is a team that has everything in front of them. Obviously, we don't know what the availability report is going to be like. But overall, I think that the improvement you've seen in the pass game, the improvement you've seen in the big play making through that pass game, Kyle Monangai being even better than he was last year so far, the offensive line really looking like they're starting to gel, having more depth offensively, more options. Defensively, they haven't been great, but they're solid. And you are seeing guys get experience that haven't gotten experience in the past. Jabome is playing a lot. He had 4 tackles again today, had a quarterback hit. Abram Wright played a lot today. You obviously have Moses Walker. You have Keshawn Griffin had a couple really good, impactful plays today. You have guys that are starting to make Prakash Sanders got a lot of run again, get opportunities here. And I think it's going to pay dividends in the long run. Overall, special teams, not a lot to take away. Jay Patel, no opportunities from field goal range. You did have Skies have a trouble on kickoff a little bit. And then in terms of punting, Anderson, overall 41 and 40 on his punts. One penned him inside the 20. So that was good. And then Dremel had 1 punt return of 11 yards. In terms of, I didn't listen to Shiano's press conference yet. I'll have that up on the site as well soon with some highlights later tonight. But I think at the end of the day, with all the injuries that they've had, and with a lot of questions coming in about the offense, I think Rutgers has done pretty well up until this point, and I think that heading now, you have a week off, you have a week to reinforce some lessons, to reinforce some things that we're learning in this game for some younger players. You have a better idea of what you can do offensively. I'm sure Shiraka has saved some things in his back pocket for Virginia Tech and Washington and so forth and so on. This team's going to be able to build on the base that they've established. You bubble wrap Kyle Monangai for 2 weeks. You keep that offensive line intact. Kaliakmanis, what I will end with, and I just, he's got gumption. He's got resiliency. He had a bit of a rough first half, and he kept chopping, and he made some really good throws in that second half. So that was super encouraging. And I think that Shiraka has a really good feel for Kaliakmanis and how to reach him. And I think that was very smart to let them open up the field a little bit, throw the ball down the field in that second half, get multiple receivers involved, and really get this offense showing that they can do some things that we have not seen them do in the past. A couple last stats here in terms of Rutgers. 515 yards total offense, held Akron at 307. They averaged, in the pass game, 16.4 yards per completion. I got to look that up. I don't know the last time Rutgers averaged that many yards in the pass game. In terms of third down conversion, Rutgers was 6 of 9. Akron was 7 of 14, so that wasn't great on the defensive end. In terms of fourth down, Rutgers was 0 of 1 on their 1 attempt. 5 penalties for Rutgers, 12 for Akron. Listen, Akron's not a good team. They shot themselves in the foot a lot. But Rutgers, listen, it was never that first half, it wasn't as impressive as you wanted, and they still went up with a big lead. So I think that's saying something. People need to recognize that that's progress for this program. So we'll take it. Rutgers is 2-0. Let's go. Lots to be encouraged about. Certainly some concerns here. We'll cover a lot in this bye week. I'll have the press conference for Shiano out very shortly, as well as some highlights later. And I'll have plenty on my Big Ten review Sunday night, Monday morning. Check out for that. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.